America is in flames. There's lots of reasons why that's going on. America's a very different country to this one. What I'm worried about is that this organisation, Black Lives Matter, are saying that they're going to have 4 more demos over the course of this week. And I think Sadiq Khan should step in and do something about it. Let's talk to Chris Hobbs and see what he makes of it. Chris, a very good morning to you.
Yeah, hi, Mike.
Yeah, listen, I mean, you and I have spoken about police and the difficulties of policing certain things over time. They had to go to East London, the riot police, to break up an illegal street party where they had a DJ, where there was people drinking, enjoying themselves. You know, now, normally speaking, you wouldn't be saying that that's illegal, but under the current circumstances, it is. And it's been a pretty tough weekend for the cops, I'd say.
Yes, it has. And, they're not best pleased. I mean, haven't been best pleased throughout this crisis.
No.
Obviously, what went on in Trafalgar Square, really, I thought was stupid,
right.
Sheer stupidity. And there was a guy interviewed on Sky News, and he basically said, yes, I'm willing to die to stop racism. In other words, to get COVID.
Yeah.
And you have to think, well, you might be, mate, but not necessarily the person you're standing next to.
Well, exactly. But, I mean, looking at Sadiq Khan's various outpourings over the weekend, he's made no comment about this demonstration that went on yesterday, which was dangerous with regards to COVID, dangerous with regard to health and safety, I would have thought, caused all sorts of problems for the police. It was anti-police. He says this: any accusations of excessive force used by police in London are taken extremely seriously by the Metropolitan Police and myself. The Metropolitan Police understand that community trust and engagement has to be continually and consistently earned and worked on together. I mean, you'd think he'd make some mention of the fact that there's hundreds of people illegally gathering to march against the police who haven't done anything.
Yeah, I think that is the concern, that the events in the States, and let's face it, as you just said, the incident itself was absolutely horrible. On police social media here, I mean, everyone was absolutely livid.
No question.
Absolutely fuming.
Yeah.
I think as far as Peckham goes, I watched that on social media, and I thought, well, yeah, all right, they're out in the open air, they're walking, maybe not so bad, and it's peaceful. It was peaceful. But all of a sudden, over the weekend, and Diane Abbott wrote an article in the Huffington Post that I'd love to reply to, but I know the Huffington Post won't entertain it.
Right.
But she basically, as we saw over on Sunday, transferred the issue of America to the UK. And yesterday you had on Twitter, and I think at the demonstration, lists of black people going back over 30 years
right.
that have been died at the hands of the police. The actual figures are surprisingly low, maybe still disproportionate, but are surprisingly low. We dug them out yesterday. In terms of people who've died in police custody. Now, one is one too many.
Yeah.
But at the moment, you have got this, what seems to be a bit of a vendetta starting against police. I'll read you one tweet yesterday that came yesterday, Mike, from a copper. And this is after all the stick police were getting on the TV and, of course, on social media. A huge amount on social media from people supporting Black Lives Matter. I'm done. I can't take the toxicity. I fought until exhaustion to stem the flow from a knife wound to a young black lad. I've given CPR in front of a family to a young black father cruelly taken by illness. I favour no skin colour. I took an oath to serve all. And that is one very fed-up police officer, and his views were mirrored. Police obviously have a lot of interaction with the black community, as they do in America. Right. And most are quite satisfactory, even in America, where you've got places like Chicago over Memorial Weekend, 10 murders, 10 fatal shootings, 60 shootings. Yeah. It's not as if it's like, you remember the
America is a very violent country. I lived there for 10 years, and I can tell you, I've been to places like South Central Los Angeles, like the south side of Chicago, like the Bronx. I once went with the NYPD on a drugs raid in the Bronx, right? And there were people throwing concrete blocks off the roofs of the building onto the police cars. I mean, that's what it's like.
Well, that's right, but it's not as if, you remember the old Carlsberg advert, Mike, where you got the phone ringing in the complaints office?
Oh, yeah.
Now, it's not as if that, say, in Chicago or any American inner city, you've got police control rooms where they're all sitting there twiddling their thumbs. Right. Because you will have people from the black community ringing police for help. Yeah. And that help will most of the time be given. Now, there is an issue in America with training police officers. Some of the training that they have to, some forces have got their own training, which is reasonable. But you can go to a college and get a police certificate do a gun course, and all of a sudden you can apply for jobs in policing.
Right.
I mean, that's...
No, listen, there's no question that there's a massive problem in America with police and racism. There's no question about that. But what that has to do with marching about during the midst of a pandemic in London, saying no justice, no peace and solidarity. I mean, not helped by Keir Starmer, by the way, who says that he says George Floyd must not become just another name. His shocking death should be the catalyst for change. To build a better society, we must stand together against racism and injustice. Now, if I'm an idiotic sort of squatter lefty from Dalston Junction, I'm going to go, oh, look, Keir Starmer says I should go out and demonstrate against this.
Yeah, I think what really is annoying is the fact that the police, yes, things do go wrong. And whenever things go wrong, they're highlighted. Yesterday, for example, again, linked to the demonstration, linked to America, you had a video of a young black lad, he looked about 14, being put in the back of a police van. There were quite a few coppers there. We don't know why he was being put there.
This is in London.
This was in London.
Yeah.
This was headed, and it was all over, so police brutality.
Yeah.
Now, I couldn't see any brutality myself. Now, we didn't know why he was being put in a van. He was searched, put in a van. Now, he could have been one of the young lads who's gone missing from home. Parents or mum, carers reported him missing. He's got involved in county lines. Police have seen him. He's 14. He looks 14. So what are they going to do? They're not going to leave him on the streets. He didn't want to go. He was effing and blinding. The police tried to persuade him in the back of the van. He was gently pushed in the back of the van. But the heading on Twitter was police brutality.
You see, this is my worry about these upcoming demos, because they've advertised and on social media that on Wednesday there's another what they're calling a peaceful demo, but you know that's really in the lap of the gods, to be honest. Another one on Saturday, another one on Sunday. I mean, surely Sadiq Khan should be saying to these organisations, this is not on. You know, yes, we live in a democracy, but under the circumstances in which we are currently dealing, i.e. a worldwide pandemic of coronavirus, you're not allowed to do it.
Yes, he should. I mean, I think the problem the police have got is, of course, if they still turn up as they would, then a bit like Extinction Rebellion, you won't have enough police to make the arrests necessary and you haven't got the custody facilities or anything else.
Right.
I think, in fairness, yesterday, Mike, and with Peckham, most of the protesters were peaceful. I was surprised at how peaceful it was. The danger is, of course, that if you get...
Yeah, but you know as well as I do, Chris, that you get these agent provocateur types, these anti-globalists turn up with their balaclavas on. You get the Antifa brigade out there. You know, they look for trouble. They want there to be trouble.
They do. And the other danger, of course, that if you get a situation as you had in 2011, and if the gangs decide to materialise and turn up, there was something about 3 years ago in Hyde Park where there was a water fight.
Yeah.
And the gangs turned up to that, and there was absolute mayhem that the police had to try and sort out. The gangs stayed away yesterday and Saturday, which was good. Maybe they're doing their own thing. Yeah. But obviously, potentially, it is a bit of a powder keg.
Yeah.
And it's really very hard. If Sadiq Khan did ban it, I suspect they'd turn up anyway, and then you've got the police. What you need are leaders of the people, the Black Lives Matter people, the community leaders, the people who've maybe got some clout, who turn around and say, no, we do not want... People like Diane Abbott, people like David Lammy, who will say...
good luck with that.
Well, yeah, but responsibly they should be saying, this is not the time, we know your feelings, don't do it. I suspect they won't do that. And
organise something like, let's go to Hyde Park, everybody goes down on one knee or something, and you stay there for as long as you can, and then you go home.
Yeah, I mean, with a bit of luck, Hyde Park, because it's so spacious, I'm hoping that, yes, people will see sense and will spread out. But, of course, as you say, there are other protests planned. I think there's one in Parliament Square, one outside the American Embassy, where social distancing, if numbers turn up, will be very difficult. And it is a powder keg, and you have to say, you really would like to think that the leaders would be responsible and say, no, we really shouldn't be doing this at this moment in time. And as you say, Hyde Park, fine, space yourselves, go down on one knee, and that's what should happen. But of course, bearing the brunt of all this, who are absolutely sick of it, I have to say, as that tweet said, are the police, and they are fed up with being bitten, spat at, coughed on over the last few weeks, and now they've got this stick and abuse they're getting on top, and you can understand morale is perhaps sagging a little.
Yes, I'm not at all surprised. Chris, thank you, as ever, for talking to us. Chris Hobbs, former Metropolitan Police Officer.
Look, one can agree that what happened was absolutely abhorrent and disgusting and dreadful. But it doesn't make an excuse for wanton criminal behaviour in the United States by burning buildings, attacking people, attacking journalists, and attacking police further.
Right.
And I think here that what we have to understand is it's not a process, but don't start digging out cops here for the sake of digging cops out. It's unnecessary. It really is unnecessary.
Well, my worry as well, Nigel, is that there's 4 more gatherings. You'll probably know this. You may even be covering them. The one on Wednesday, a couple at the weekend, and I think one the following week. You know, it's only a matter of time. And I'm not tempting fate here, before something goes wrong and it turns into something that we don't want to see.
Absolutely. And one of the things that's interesting is that one of the flyers for these upcoming protests makes it perfectly clear at the bottom, do not wear identifiable clothing. Well, if you're going to process peacefully, what have you got to hide?
Yeah.
But I think that what's interesting is, if I can make just 2 quick more points. Yeah. So if you get arrested and get convicted of a criminal offence, it's really not going to do your career prospects any good moving forward in your life. Because no one wants to employ a looter, a rioter, or an arsonist.
No.
That's the first point. But secondly, which is interesting, a lot of these protesters perhaps do not realise this, is that American police have a greater accountability than UK police. I'll give you an example of this. This particular guy was sacked within about 72 hours.
Yeah.
He wasn't given anonymity. And in this country, if a police officer commits an alleged serious criminal offence, they're straight to be given anonymity and or put on restricted or suspended duties. Suspended or on restricted duties. Yeah. And furthermore, this guy's been charged in such a short space of time. In this country, these matters go on for years.
Yeah.
And since 1990 in this country, if I'm not mistaken, till last year, there's been just over 1,500 deaths through police contact.
Yeah.
And only one police officer, to my knowledge, a guy called Anthony Long, faced a criminal prosecution for murder over the shooting of Azor Rodney, and he was found not guilty at the Old Bailey.
Yeah.
But we don't want trouble on the streets here. We don't want people's livelihoods destroyed. We don't want looting or rioting.
No, exactly right. And we certainly don't want to be able to have politicians justifying it. And Sadiq Khan should do the straight and honest thing and ban these further demonstrations. Nigel, great call. Thank you. Let's talk to Lee, who's in Birmingham. Hi, Lee.
You're right.
Yeah, hi.
Basically, one of the things that the chap you were just speaking to about, and he said that he was sacked within 72 hours. Firstly, I mean, that's not actually correct, because there were 4 officers.
Yeah.
And the mayor's office and the governor had to actually approach the force to have them sacked in the first place.
Yeah, but they were sacked in that time period, weren't they?
I'm not sure if it was 72 hours, but at the end of the day, if you have people who commit murder live on camera and it's seen by the whole world, why does anybody have to approach you to ask you to sack the people who've committed?
Yeah. I totally agree, Lee. I mean, the trouble is, right, America is a very violent country. The police in America are quite violent. The police in America, unfortunately, I have to say, are also racist. Not all of them, but every single force in America has got a problem. I don't understand why that is the case. I can't explain it, but it's always been the case. And for anyone in this country to try and sort of equate our country's police with theirs is making a massive mistake.
Okay, look, I'm not going to disagree with you on that point, because at the end of the day, in the UK, we've got our own problems.
We have.
So I think what you have to understand is that people are showing solidarity for what's happened in the US, because there is people of diverse culture who do suffer at the hands of racist police officers here.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true.
It's carte blanche all over.
But do you really, Lee, do you really think that standing outside Downing Street shouting "F the police" and, you know, no justice, no peace is actually doing any good?
Well, look, I'm not saying it's doing good. I mean, there are different ways of approaching a situation.
Yes, I think that's the wrong approach.
Listen, I'm not going to disagree with you on that, because I wouldn't necessarily use that approach myself.
Right.
But what I would say is this. What's been lost in all of this is that people are frustrated, people are fed up. And when you have people who are frustrated and fed up, they just react. And, it's...
No, I disagree with you. I think, Lee, the people who are demonstrating and doing what they did yesterday outside of Downing Street are the kind of people that look for an opportunity to do that. They will be demonstrating at the drop of a hat. Anything that happens or anywhere around the world, they think this is a great chance for us to go out on the lash, to have a bit of a dust-up with the cops and to basically provoke them into doing something. That's what's going on here.
So you talk about the anti-fascist movement. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about the people who are professional troublemakers who always find themselves in the middle of these kinds of demonstrations. I'm not saying everybody on the demo is like that, but I'm saying the people who are like that want trouble.
But do you accept that there is an anti-fascist movement, though? Would you accept that?
Well, there is a movement called Antifa, isn't there?
Yeah, well... Antifa,
but Antifa are about to be, as far as the President of the United States is concerned, about to be deemed a terrorist organisation.
Yeah, but one of the things you have to understand about Antifa is it's not an organisation.
What is it then?
It's a shared ideology.
Oh right, okay. Are you in it, Lee? Are you in it?
No, I'm not an Antifa. Come on.
You're not an anti-fascist.
Am I anti-fascist?
No, are you an anti-fascist?
Well, anybody's an anti-fascist, aren't they? Aren't you an anti-fascist? Aren't you?
No, I'm not. I'm not anti or pro anything.
So you don't agree? So you don't agree that there shouldn't be oppression, there shouldn't be racism, and all those things? Because all those.
Oh, what?
Things,
so because I'm not anti-fascist, I'm a racist. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm not saying you're racist. I'm not saying that.
You just said that I must be in favour of fascism.
No, I didn't say you was in favour. I said.
I thought that's what you said.
No, what I'm trying to say, I'm saying to you, wouldn't you agree that all the things that anti-fascism is against, most decent people would be against?
Well, I don't know what they're against. What are they against? You just told me it's not an organisation.
Right. An anti-fascist is against everything where the establishment promotes...
So you're saying the establishment is fascist, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that's what an anti-fascist is against.
Oh, so the anti-fascists are against the establishment, right?
The anti-fascist is against fascist establishments, not every establishment.
Well, the British establishment's not fascist, is it?
I'm not saying it is fascist.
Right. Well, why are they demonstrating against it then? Well, why are they demonstrating against it if it's not fascist?
Look.
I think you're a bit confused, Lee.
No, I'm not confused.
Yeah, you are.
You're taking what I'm saying out of context.
How am I? You're saying the words and I'm responding to them. How is that taking it out of context?
Listen, I asked you if you would agree that there was an anti-fascist movement.
You said
yes, and then you...
Well, you just said there wasn't. Then you said there wasn't.
Listen, I didn't say there wasn't. Look, there is an anti-fascist movement, of course there is.
I asked you if there was an anti-fascist organisation. You said there wasn't. You said it was an ideology.
Antifa is an ideology. It's not a movement. It's not a group of people.
Well, it is a group of people. Demonstrably, it's a group of people because the group of people that is out there demonstrating are identifying themselves as Antifa, aren't they?
Okay. Right. Can I answer the question?
What question?
I will answer the question.
Which question are you answering?
That you asked. The question.
Which one?
Or the statement that you're making. The one around the Antifa being a group.
Hey?
I can answer that.
Right, okay. You've already answered. You said it's not a group.
Okay. But it's a group of people.
Oh, it is a group.
Ideology.
Ah, so it is a group.
People, no, okay.
You just said it was a group.
Just like people are everybody who's against oppression, would you say that's a group or would you just say that's people with shared ideas?
Everybody who's against oppression.
Yeah,
you'd have to define. Well, you'd have to define oppression. Look, you're the one who seems confused about whether it's a group or not. Is Antifa a group or not? Hey?
Antifa
is it a group?
Is an ideology.
So it's not a group.
Anti-fascism.
So it's not a group.
Anti-fascism is an idea, isn't it? It's an ideology.
Is it? I don't know. You're the one that's telling me. You're the expert. Is it a group or not?
Look, anti-fascism is an ideology.
Right. So it's not a group then.
Ideology.
So it's not a group.
No, it's
okay. All right. Glad we sorted that out. Lee, thanks very much indeed. Apparently Antifa's not a group, I think.
Hey, you were talking before to a chap called Lee.
Yes.
If you remember.
Yes.
And he was you were very much sort of going back and forth about Antifa and
yes.
whether it was a group or whether it wasn't a group and all this. And I just think, obviously President Trump is actually prescribing Antifa,
yes,
as a terrorist group.
He is.
After the events that have been taking place in the United States.
Yeah.
And I think, it's one of the things I've sort of looked into quite a lot. And if you actually look at Antifa's manual, which is available, which can be seen online, it's an absolutely shocking document.
Yes.
I don't know if you're aware of the protocols of the Elders of Zion, the terrible forgery which inspired the Nazis.
Not particularly, no.
The Jews. Yeah, well, it was one of the key documents, which was the World Jewish Conspiracy, that sort of idea.
Well, is this what Antifa are following, is it?
Well, except that instead of Jews, they say white people.
Well, the problem with this group that seems to have grown in number and started off in America but seemingly has spread to other parts of the world is that it seems to be entirely driven by a sort of hatred of the establishment, almost a tearing down of everything that exists, and they're actually responsible for a huge amount of what I would say is the polarization of politics in America, where the left have become much more now associated with these kinds of people and demonstrations than they are with people like Joe Biden, who's a perfectly reasonable guy with some perfectly reasonable beliefs. But the problem is that these Antifa people show up and basically I don't think they're necessarily driven by race or even ideology. They're driven by a wish to sort of destroy everything, it seems to me.
It's anarchism.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Essentially, it's sort of anarcho-communism.
Yeah, and they want to just burn everything down, burn it all to the ground,
and rebuild. It's very much the Pol Pot kind of idea. That you go from the year zero, you destroy everything that's gone before.
Yeah. In
order to build a sort of a paradise.
Well, who do you think is behind it then?
The colleges, the professors, the Marxists.
Well, the Marxists.
They take these naive kids. And as you all know, I mean, massive numbers now go into higher education compared to the old days.
Yeah.
When it was a minority. So they've got a lot to work on. And they're introduced to these ideas, these ideologies, this idea that white men are to blame for everything.
Yeah.
Only white men had slaves, only white men had a slave trade.
Well, when you hear a woman on the news, basically saying, America was built on the backs of black people, and we have every right to burn it down, it's really quite scary, Mike. Listen, thanks for your call. Let's talk to Martin, who's in Swansea. Hello, Martin.
Hello. Right. I don't want to be too controversial, but
okay.
I just want to get, innocent till proven guilty scenario.
All right.
As I said, I'm an ex-police officer, worked in London.
Okay.
And obviously an officer will not go out to work thinking, oh, I might kill someone today.
Right.
It's, it's a terrible thing that happened, and I'm sure he had no intention of doing anything like that.
Well, perhaps not when he set out, but he certainly ended up in a position where he could have stopped doing what he was doing, and he didn't.
Right, I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm not condoning what happened.
No.
All I'm trying to give the other side the perspective of what he thought he was doing.
Uh-huh.
Now, they have obviously America, but I believe they're self-defense techniques and handcuffing techniques are very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the tape, it did see similar. Now, we're told to sort of put pressure on someone's shoulder blade. You kneel on them,
right,
and then if someone's struggling, you're able to pull their arm up their back to handcuff them.
Right.
So if someone is struggling on the floor, you're in big trouble. You're never going to get the handcuffs on.
Right.
So that is a sort of procedure he did. Now, from one angle...
But surely once you've subdued the individual, then that's all you need to do, isn't it?
Them. Yeah, you'd handcuff them.
Right.
Once they're handcuffed, they're fine. Now, we heard, help, I can't breathe. Now, I'm looking at like a defence lawyer would. Did that come from someone else? Help, he can't breathe. And it didn't, it's obviously a camera phone, so we're not going to see anything.
Right.
I'm sure when it gets to court, it's going to be forensically analysed. And
well, I don't think there's any doubt what happened, is there, Martin? I mean, the guy died as a result of being asphyxiated by the pressure brought on his esophagus, for want of a better word, by the police officer's knee.
One question. If you're practically strangled or the pressure, are you able to shout anything?
Well, I don't think that's the point.
Doubt it.
Well, I don't think that's the point. The point is the police officer has been charged with murder because he killed him. Simple.
No. But do you know what a murder actually is?
Yes, I do.
It's an intent to kill someone. You actually intend or commit.
Yes,
grievous
that's
bodily harm.
That's why he hasn't been charged with manslaughter. He's been charged with murder because the intent was there. It wasn't first-degree murder, which means that you've got a prior intent. It was murder in the second degree, I believe, because in fact he didn't set out, as you say, in the morning to kill somebody, and he hadn't singled that particular individual out. But it's murder because you could have prevented him from dying.
Yeah, well, we don't know what the full facts.
Well, there'll be a trial, but I suspect, Martin, that basically if you are in the prosecutor's office in Minneapolis, you are going to bring a murder charge with some care. You're not going to bring a murder charge if you don't think you can succeed in the prosecution. But listen, thanks for your call. Appreciate your expertise.